What if you didn't have to work at the age of 20? That's Emmanuella's goal.
Fellow investors, bonjour. This is Mike Leroux, founder of Dividend Stocks Rocks and passionate investor. You're listening to the Dividend Guy blog podcast where I and my co-host Véronique will help you invest with more conviction so you can enjoy your retirement.
Dividend growth investors, bonjour. Vero here, and you're listening to the Dividend Guy blog podcast. I am so thrilled and excited by today's episode, listeners. The guest I will receive is not an adult yet, but she still aims to reach financial independence by her 20s. How amazing and impressive is that, right? So today she will share her story and goals. But before that, I'm sure this episode can inspire a lot of investors. So please hit pause and share it now. Now, please welcome Emmanuella Call, a 16-year-old investor. Hi, Emmanuella. Thank you so much for accepting the invite and being here today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, very well, Vero. Thank you for inviting me on this podcast. It's a real pleasure to be here.
So, listeners, I met Emmanuella in one of our public webinars about retirement with Mike, of course. She came into the chat and wrote something like, "Hi everyone, I'm Emmanuella. I'm 16 and I'm glad to be here." And that immediately caught my attention. I was like, "Oh my god," and I wanted to know more. So maybe you can start by briefly describing yourself and what you enjoy.
So I'm the eldest of 6 siblings. I've got a mom and a dad. I live in a rural part of New Brunswick on a hobby farm, which has a dairy cow, which we milk her every day. I'm someone who likes playing sports. I play pickleball at a local rec center, which is not very too far from our house. I also like working out to keep myself in shape. I also like being around animals, and I'm also a very avid reader. So I'm able to read for like hours a day if I got the right book.
Wow. And what kind of books do you like?
I like history, I read investing, and health. So like right now I'm reading a book by Doug Casey. It's called Speculator High Ground Novels.
Pretty impressive. Like you're going for intelligent reads, pretty much.
Exactly.
Okay, so we exchanged a couple of messages to prepare for this episode, Emmanuella, and you told me you used to live in Montreal, but that your parents decided to move to New Brunswick to benefit from lower real estate prices. What age were you when you moved, and how did it impact your family life?
So when we first moved from Montreal to New Brunswick, I was 9 years old. I was used to a renovated house, as our house in Montreal was newly renovated. And when we moved to New Brunswick, the house we had bought was in dire need of renovations. So that was pretty challenging at first. There's also the difference in environment, as I would say. Montreal was always filled with activity, it was bustling, very busy. And when we moved here, you could not find one single car on the road, let alone hear children playing outside. I did grow to like the quietness, though, and I like being in the country, and I always say I would never move back to Montreal.
You know what? I used to live in the South Shore of Montreal, so like not as city, but as Montreal, but still like kind of a big town. And I moved in a more country city like about a year ago, and just like you, I wouldn't go back. Like it's so much. I don't know how to explain it, but it fills you, right? Like the quietness and the nature and all that. It's really like fulfilling, I believe.
It is. I find I guess there's like, I have the sense of like freedom here in the country I didn't have back in Montreal.
So you pretty much reacted like positively to that change, right?
I did. It was a positive change.
And how was it for your siblings? Like they were younger than you at that time, right?
They were. It was an adventure for them, including myself. It was just the house that wasn't an adventure.
Okay, so the same year at 9 years old, you had your first job. So what was it?
So my first job at 9 years old was working in a bed and breakfast, which was about 10 minutes from the house we were living in. I would help the lady owner there. She was an elderly lady, so she did need a little bit of help. My job consisted of like hanging laundry, which was my favorite job, serving the guests their breakfast, making beds with her, vacuuming. And I would say it was a really excellent first job for someone my age. I really enjoyed having the cash in my pocket also, which was very
Hmm.
beneficial as I saw it.
And I heard that you were a young entrepreneur too with your muffin business. What do you feel this experience has brought you, and why did you start working at such a young age?
So I feel the experience has taught me like how to socialize with people from like different areas. It also taught me how to
Hmm.
handle small change. And the reason I started working so young was because I wanted to. I just wanted to go out and work myself. I liked having the money. I just liked seeing different people and socializing.
So it was not your parents' initiative. It was really you who decided to start working and have like some money aside at the same time, right?
Yes, correct. It was me who wanted like so badly just to go out myself and work.
And do you think it's related to the fact that you were homeschooled, like the sense of going outside a little bit more and maybe seeing other people than just your family? Was it related to that or not at the time?
I would say it's because my parents taught the value of hard work, and
Hmm.
I see a lot of children now they don't value that, and me and my siblings we value hard work. So I'd say it was that,
Great.
and it was also just I guess adventure. Even though it wasn't like
Hmm.
very far from my house, it's just something different.
Great. So I'm gonna maybe like make sure to have my kids listen to you because they don't do as many chores here, and I would like them to participate a little bit more. So I'll make them listen to you. Um, what did you do with the money that you earned from these jobs?
So unfortunately, I spent all of the money that I earned from the bed and breakfast and from the muffin business. I spent it on a Norco bike, which I outgrew, and as a result, I don't use it anymore. I spent
Hmm.
it on a horseback ride, which I still regret to this day because I didn't. It wasn't the best experience for me, as I didn't like the horse I was riding. And then I spent it on a pair of blue light glasses, which were like amounted to like $20. But I could have gotten 5 pairs for the same price. So
Hmm.
I just regret ever spending that money, which kind of sucks.
So you went for the luxury things pretty much, like
I would
the
say so.
shiny
I,
objects, as we
I
say.
didn't I didn't see the value, I guess, of money when I was young. So I'm just like,
Hmm.
okay, I have cash. Let me spend it all.
But I mean, you learned it at such a young age, so I'm sure that like you were 9, 10 years old at that time, right? So
Uh, so I started working from 9, so that was the money I earned between like 9 and 12. I spent it all.
okay. Okay, so that's like a lesson that some people learn at like 40 years old. So you're still in advance.
Correct,
Okay,
right.
so let's talk a bit more about those investments. You started investing at 14 years old as part of your homeschooling curriculum. Before we continue, and it's really important for me, I'd like to send a big shout out to your mom and also your dad, but to your mom for having the guts to start that venture and educate you about finance and investing. Congratulations, mom. We wouldn't be here today without your amazing job. So, Emanuela, why do you think your mom decided to homeschool you and your siblings?
So the reason mom decided to home educate us was to give us the best education possible in the best environment possible. So
Mm,
And in my opinion, with public school, I'm not saying all public schools are bad. It's just that you can't get that education in a public school. So when mom home educates us, mom also focuses on our individual interests. So meaning, for example, if we do not want, let's say one of my siblings likes dinosaurs, but I don't, mom's not gonna like force all of us to study about dinosaurs. So, for
Mm.
example, my brother, he's a year younger than I am. He decided a year ago he wants to be an electrician. So my mom was like, "Okay, I'll help you with that." So she bought him courses online, got him books
Hmm.
to read about electricity, and also helped him get a job with a local electrician. So now, as a result
Wow.
of that training, he's able to wire a house from top to bottom. So that's what I mean by
Wow.
focusing on our individual interests. So for me, that my
Hmm.
individual interest would be more like the computer and tourism.
Okay, so she's really trying to build on your passions pretty much. Make sure that you go through what you want to live and you focus on your interests and your passions and make sure that you build a career around that.
Correct, that's it.
Okay, wow, I love it. And are there any like other topics? Like, of course, you do finance and investing, and like you said, you have an interest in computer and your brother in electricity. But what other kind of topics do you do at with your homeschool education that you don't do at public school, for example?
Um, we do cursive writing. I believe they don't teach that in public school. Um, Let me see. I would say we also read a lot of books. So for me, it was like books on animal health, personal health. But I'd say we do typically the same thing. Like we do study so science, social studies, math, history. And I would
Hmm.
say the only thing that public school wouldn't teach is in financial education.
Right, of course. And we should do that in public schools, in my opinion. Okay,
Correct.
so how did your mom start your investing journey? Like, I'm sure that there are other parents listening right now that might want to help their children start investing. So, what were the first steps?
So the first thing that really triggered mom into studying about investing was mom got fed up of being on a rat wheel. So my parents
Mm.
work extremely hard, but it seemed as if no matter how hard they worked, they never like got ahead because that's like the thing with a rat wheel. The even if the faster you run,
Hmm.
you never seem to get ahead. And so mom decided mom was going to learn what the wealthy people of the world do to build wealth. So she started by reading investing books, which amounted to like over 200 books and about thousands of
Wow.
hours of YouTube videos. She also incorporated that into our home education. So she would
Hmm.
buy children's books to start off with first to learn like the difference between currency and money, what's a dividend, what's a stock, what's the stock market. Um, Mom then opened a tax-free savings account for herself and invested money in that account for her. And then she opened interest accounts for my siblings and I and invested our money. So at the time, I did not have enough knowledge to help with
Hmm.
the investments. So right now, when mom buys stocks, sells stocks, she always calls us over to the computer now because I have more knowledge than before, and she like explains to
Hmm.
me why we're buying it, why we're selling it, why we're analyzing it, and so forth.
And did she start with dividend stocks like right away, or did she try other things as well?
That I'm not sure. I can't remember.
No worries, it's all good. I was just curious. Hey, dividend growth investors, this is Vero. Mike is currently taking a sip of water, which gives us 10 seconds, and I literally mean 10 seconds to grow the podcast together. Go on Spotify or Apple Podcast, hit pause, and then under our logo, you'll see two very interesting buttons. One to subscribe, hit that subscribe button now, and then give us a 5-star rating. Our goal is to help more investors just like you. So please spread the love. Thank you. When did the financial independence part come into play, and why does it resonate with you?
So the financial independence part first started when I was 14. Mom would pull out compound calculators on the computer and the phone and would put in the amount of money we had at the time into that calculator at a reasonable interest rate, and then put in the number of years, let's say, for example, 30 years, if we let it compound over that time.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were able to see, like, kind of into the future, how much money we really could have if we invested. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason it resonates in me is because when I'm older, I see a lot of people, they struggle financially. And I always think to myself, I don't want to be in that position where, I can't go on vacations with my future family. Um, I can't go to restaurants, or even just to buy things I need or would like. And I just don't want to be
Mm-hmm.
in that position or in those shoes of like just not having the financial means to support myself.
So you were attracted by the freedom that financial independence meant, right?
Correct, because I realize now that like money doesn't make you happy, but it gives you
Mm-hmm.
options. It gives you
Of
freedom
course.
to pursue your passions.
Right. Okay, so I have absolutely no doubt that you can reach FI by age 20, Emmanuella. I see your focus, and like I'm really impressed right now by your personality in general. But I wonder, if you don't have to work to live, what would you like to do with your time as an adult? Because at Dividend Stocks Rock, we see a lot of retirees going back to work, not because they lack money, but because they are bored and they want like a sense of purpose. So, how will you keep yourself busy, and what do you think will give you that sense of purpose?
Well, first of all, I do not intend at all to stop working. I always
Mm,
plan to keep working, whether it's at home, part time, or full time. Being financially independent just simply gives me the freedom to stop working if I did wish to stop working, or just to work
mm-hmm,
at a job, regardless of what the pay is. Um,
right.
and I think what would give me a sense of purpose, I think, is just being able to stay in the tourism sector as I am now, as I really enjoy that. Um, and then
Mm-hmm,
second would be just being able, I think, to have fun with my family and my future family. So,
mm-hmm.
meaning I'd be able to go on vacation with them, go maybe on a cruise or to amusement parks. I think that would give me a sense of purpose.
Let's go back to your portfolio for a second. You don't necessarily have to share like specific details, because I mean it's still like personal choices, but what does your portfolio look like now regarding asset allocation?
So, right now, I'm invested in the utilities, telecom, energy, and banking sectors, and they're all Canadian stocks. I don't invest in the US stock market. Um, I believe right now I'm in my portfolio right now, I believe it's kind of low in the banking, and I think I have quite a few energy stocks um, right now.
So would you be willing to maybe let go of some of your energy stocks, or you're not considering that for now?
Well, right now, actually, we're buying the energy stocks because I think like what we think is people undervalued energy for so long, and if you think of it over like in the future, people cannot live without energy or oil or gas. So we're buying the energy stocks because you can't live without it. And right now we believe they're undervalued.
Hmm. Is there a reason why you chose not to invest on the US market for now?
I'm not exactly sure why, but I know they do have if I'm correct, there's a like tax on the US side. which we don't have on the
Well,
Canadian side.
it's because of the when you invest in U.S. stocks, the Canadian government tax you on your profit, basically, depending on which account you put it in. But yeah, there's a currency exchange, of course, and there's also a tax that is applied. So maybe that's why. But I mean, I'm just throwing you an idea right now. As time goes, maybe you can read about that. But the US market is so much diversified that sometimes it helps to not be too overexposed to the Canadian market, which is still small. I mean, like you've said, the energy sector has good opportunities on the Canadian side, utilities, telecom, and all that stuff. Banking, of course, we have pretty much like the best banks, I think. But yeah, it could maybe open you some doors to more diversification over time. But just that's just a thought. And what would you like your ideal portfolio to look like once you reach FI?
So my ideal portfolio, what I preferably would like is a portfolio where I have enough dividends coming out to sustain me and my future family well, in addition to being able to finance vacations, um, going to restaurants and just kind of all those things. I don't have an exact number right now because of inflation.
Mhm. Right. And so basically, you're in an ideal world, your portfolio would cover for like your home or house or whatever, and your like daily bills like electricity and all that, and you would pretty much work more for fun, right?
Correct. That's I in the ideal scenario, what I would like is it would kind of cover everything I need.
Okay. And what type of stocks do you select now and why?
So when we look at a stock, we're looking for a company that's undervalued. So
Mm.
that's like our first step. So we have four steps when we're analyzing a stock. So the number
Mm-hmm.
one is we're going to look if it's undervalued. If it's a good stock but it's overvalued, it's the equivalent of going to the supermarket and seeing this excellent quality butter at $10 a pound. You wouldn't buy it at $10 a pound because it's not worth it. You'd wait for it to drop in value, let's say at $2 a pound, then buy it. So that's the first thing we look for is an undervalued company. The second thing is we're going to look if that company is giving a dividend of around like 4.75% or more. We're going to also be looking if the company has been giving that 4.75% dividend for 10 years or more. And then the fourth thing we look at is if they're increasing that dividend. Because we're not just dividend investors, we're dividend growth investors.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's very important that you have like a clear buying process, and you seem to have one. So kudos to you for that. Like it seems pretty clear in your head. So good job. Um, if you invest in stocks with like yield over 4 and 5 or near 5%, it's a very, very, very good thing that you look for dividend growth, of course, because I mean, we've seen a dividend stocks drop so many retirees lacking of income because their dividend stocks cut their dividends. So make sure that it grows, like you've said, like that's crucial, and make sure that it grows enough to cover inflation. You've mentioned inflation before, so very important part. Make sure that it covers that, and yeah. So I think that the most important thing that is you have like a clear process. So very good job on that. Um, do you and your mom consider transferring your investment to you once you turn 18?
Yes. So the interest account I have, it's already in my name. And the when I turn 18, it's going to automatically be transferred to me.
So that's like in 2 years. It's coming fast, right?
Correct. A year and a half, actually.
So how do you feel about that? Do you feel confident about investing on your own? What tools or resources maybe helped you gain knowledge and that you continue to use?
So at the moment, I don't feel confident enough to invest on my own. I think that's
Mm,
just because of a lack of knowledge. Um, so like right now, I just need to keep on reading, keep on listening to YouTube videos and podcasts to gain that knowledge I'm lacking. Um,
mhm.
and the resources that helped me the most was mom. I would have never done it without mom. Then I
Sure.
learned the rest from books and YouTube videos and podcasts.
And once that you've read those books and YouTube videos, are there any times that you were not agreeing with your mom, that you maybe you saw things differently on some specific points, or do you really follow the same process and thoughts?
We follow the same process and thoughts. Sometimes, though, I'll find, I don't know, if I see the company has a lot of debt, I start to get skeptical. Um,
Hmm.
but
That's a
because I,
very good point, actually.
but because I'm lacking knowledge, um, I might not be correct. It's just sometimes in times like those, like if I see that, then I start getting like, well, I don't know if we should buy that company.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that you have a very, very good intuition, actually, and I think that you should listen to that because it's very important that you feel comfortable with what you own and that you understand why you own it. So if you don't, uh, like, if you're not comfortable with like the debt part, maybe make sure to understand why they are in debt and if they can still cover like those debt payments. That's very important. But yeah, so I think honestly, Emanuela, I think that you're such an intelligent young woman, and you definitely have the interest to invest and make sure that you are in a good financial shape, and that's like the most important step. So like you're really ahead of so many people right now. I'm just impressed. And what do you struggle the most with when you invest?
I would say the thing I struggle the most with when I invest is just knowing what stocks to buy. So we
Mm,
do, so as I mentioned earlier, we have our strategy. But let's say I take that strategy and I come up with like 7 excellent stocks. The problem would be just knowing what stock to buy. Like, is one better than the other? Is
mm-hmm.
Should I put my money all in one stock or should I maybe diversify and buy all of them? I would say that that's my problem right now is that I'm uncertain which stock to buy.
We gave you an access to dividend stocks rock, and I don't know if you had the chance to go in it yet, but we have a stock comparison tool that DSR members just love, and I use it myself too. And if you hesitate between like two or three or even seven stocks, you can use that, but just make sure that they are in the same sector and even best in the same industry. So maybe the key for you to start would be to identify a sector or an industry that you want to invest in, and then it will clarify maybe your choices, and then like you can go like on in the funnel and make sure that
Right.
you pick the one that suits you the most. Um, Maybe that would help you, but it's just a thought. Hey, listeners, you have heard us talk about DSR so many times. I think it's time to invite you to join Dividend Stocks Rock and become part of our great community. At DSR, you can rethink your portfolio with our portfolio models, buy the right assets with our stock cards and stock screener, stay the course, grow your conviction, and get educated with our weekly newsletter and exclusive webinars. What else could describe this risk-free investment, Mike?
So in 2017, I took 3 major decisions. I quit my job at the bank, I decided to go full time on DSR, and I decided to manage my portfolio account. So that pension plan was $108,000. I was about to invest it at a all-time high market, and thank God I had DSR tools to help me out. So over the years, I've built a platform to help investors invest with more conviction, giving them clarity and make it easy to invest and manage their portfolio. Fast forward today, this portfolio is now almost at $300,000, and it makes it so easy to just use a DSR Pro platform to manage a portfolio, buy and sell, and do everything within minutes.
And you know what, listeners? We have a special offer for you. Subscribe to DSR now at thedividendguyblog.com/deal to get a 15% lifetime discount. That means your membership will never increase. Again, thedividendguyblog.com/deal. See you soon during our next private webinar. Okay, so Emmanuella told us that you regret spending your money between 9 and 12. But do you plan to have a percentage of fun money at some point? And what would you be comfortable putting like money on?
So right now I do already have a percentage of fun money I spend. That amounts around 3% of the money I earn. I sometimes I will pull out some dividends from my portfolio to fund something. For example, I bought a Kindle and a case solely from dividends. And things
Nice.
I'd be comfortable of like putting my money on would be like the Kindle I bought. I'll buy birthday presents. Sometimes with like when I was working, I would buy my lunch sometimes. If it was worth it. Um, and just like stuff like that, and maybe sometimes like a small pleasure item.
So from what I can see, you seem to have like a pretty much a frugal approach to life in general. Is that something that you feel comfortable in, being frugal?
I'm pretty comfortable. Sometimes it's a little hard. But
Mm-hmm.
like I'm a saver. Like there's two categories of people. There's spenders and savers, and I'm a saver, so it's
Right.
not too hard being frugal.
Mm-hmm. So it's not like you're trying to change what you are. You just act as in line with what you are, basically, with who you are and what you feel the most comfortable with, right?
Correct. That's just who I am.
Mm-hmm. And it's good. I mean, it's perfect because I think I would have a hard time being like as frugal as you, but it's just helps so much to put money aside and make sure that you have like a lot of it at 20 and beyond, for
Correct.
all your life. Okay, so Emanuela, I have one last question before I let you go. Your highly focused approach and story are great inspiration for young and also not so young investors. I just like admit that I'm not so frugal. So if you had one tip to give to them, what would it be?
So it would be don't waste time, don't waste money, don't do drugs, don't drink, don't smoke, and last but not least, do not play video games.
Oh, okay. So another thing that I have to share with my children. All right. Thank you deeply, Emanuela. I hope that you had some fun because I did. And thank you also for inspiring me and others. I must, like I said, I must chat with my children now. So, listeners, do not miss any episodes again. Hit the subscribe button underneath our podcast logo and help us grow by sharing it. For the show notes and related content, visit thedividendguyblog.com/209. If you'd like to appear on the show, message me on the Dividend Guy blog Facebook page or at the Dividend Guy on X. And until next week, Stay invested.
Hey fellow investors, it's Mike here. I hope that you have enjoyed this episode. Please note that the Dividend Guy blog podcast is at no time issuing buy or sell recommendation. Please do your own due diligence as this podcast is recorded for information and hopefully fun purposes only. Make your research, make sure you do your stuff. We're not responsible for your losses or your profit after listening to this episode. And until next one, stay invested.